Fast, fast, and faster. The Japan rail system is a marvel of engineering accomplishment, and when you visit Japan, you are bound to travel on these amazing trains that run throughout the country. And you can do it using the convenient JR Railpass. But is it worth it? This is a question that comes up all the time on Reddit and Japan Travel Facebook groups, so it's an important one that doesn't have a one-size-fits-all answer. At risk of sounding like a politician, the answer is, it depends. So in this video, we're going to dive into what it's like using the JR Railpass in Japan and visit some of the amazing destinations you'll want to visit, such as Miyajima, with its floating torii gate near Hiroshima, or Osaka's famous Dotonbori food district, and Kyoto's iconic shrines and temples. First, what is the JR Pass? The Japan Rail Pass is a ticket that allows you to travel on all Japan Rail modes of transport, including not only trains, but subways, buses, and even the occasional ferry. As long as it is operated by one of the three Japan Railway companies, JR East, Central, or West, you don't need to purchase additional tickets for regular seats on these modes of transport. There are approximately 19,000 miles of track in Japan covered by the JR Pass, including several Shinkansen lines, or bullet trains as they're often called. These sleek trains travel smoothly and quietly from north to south, east to west, up to 200 miles an hour. Once you leave these major lines, you can then take local trains to other destinations in the countryside. But just because you're leaving the Shinkansen doesn't mean you're going to slow down that much. Some of these other trains are sleek and very fast themselves, offering comfortable seating and unique cars with stunning scenery to boot. Of course, there are subways in the major cities that are operated by the JR, and most of these are what you typically envision with crowds and lots of standing while on the train. The Rail Pass is valid for 3 periods of days of consecutive travel. That is, there's a 7-day, 14-day, and 21-day pass. Now remember this, once you activate the pass, the clock starts ticking, so you don't want to activate it too early or too late in your trip. It just depends on your travel plans. So what about the cost? Until 2024, the JR Rail Pass had not gone up much in price for years, and with the yen being weak against other major currencies, the JR nearly doubled the price in early 2024. Today, for a 7-day pass for an ordinary car, it is $331. For a 14-day pass, it is $530, and for a 21-day pass, it is $662. But wait, there's more. In addition to the ordinary car, there's something called the green car. This is a step up, and if you have the money to do it, I suggest you look into it. Some people refer to the green car as first class, but they probably have not seen the grand class cars on the JR, and I'll get into more of that later. The green car is more like moving up from a coach airline seat into a business class seat. I'll get into the differences later in the video, but for now, the price on a 7-day green car pass is $464. For a 14-day pass, it is $729, and for a 21-day pass, it is $927. And here's another very important factor. You can only purchase these JR passes before you leave from home. You cannot purchase them in Japan once you are there. So back to the big question, is it better to use a JR Pass or just pay as you go once you're in the country? To find out, let's take a hypothetical journey. I've created this sample itinerary for our trip. It's a total of 15 days with 14 days using a JR Pass and covers nearly 1,200 miles. Now I recognize this is a fast-paced itinerary, but I'm doing it for a reason. So for those of you who are experienced Japan travelers, don't send me an email criticizing it, okay? I'll pause here to ask you to please click the like and the subscribe buttons. It helps us know we're doing something right and encourages us to keep going. It's free, it's easy, and you won't be put on any mailing list. So we hope you'll do it now and help us support the channel. Day 1, we land at Narita Airport and immediately take the Narita Express to Tokyo Station. This train is covered by the pass, so after activating your pass at the nearest ticket office, just take this comfortable train into Tokyo. But we're not going to stop in Tokyo, we're continuing on to the amazing historic town of Kanazawa. This is a beautiful castle town with amazing walking districts noted for their Edo period architecture, along with Kanazawa Castle and Kenroku Gardens, one of the top 3 in Japan. These two trips are all covered by the jrpass, and if you had paid a la carte, it would have cost 17,250 yen. After spending day 2 in Kanazawa with no major train travel, we head to Kyoto on day 3, passing through the new Suruga station on the Tsurugi Shinkansen, arriving in a little over 2 hours. Since we arrive early in the afternoon, we do some sightseeing and travel just a few minutes over to the Fushimi Inari Shrine with its numerous vermilion torii gates, only to be disappointed at the overwhelming crowds. Now here's a hint. If you decide to visit this shrine, do so early in the day or late in the evening to avoid the crowds. It's available 24 hours a day, so you have that option. On day 4, we take the short JR Sagano line to neighboring Arashiyama, perhaps most well known for the bamboo forest. And like the Inari Shrine, this one is also somewhat crowded as it is so popular, but we enjoy the day walking through some of the side streets and visiting smaller temples such as Gyoji Temple, and stopping off at Surezure for a lunch of excellent udon. We use day 5 as a day trip to nearby Osaka, and taking the JR Kyoto line, we make it in just 28 minutes at a cost of 580 yen. After exploring some of the massive Osaka station with its expansive atrium and escalators, we hop on a local train on the Osaka Loop to visit Osaka Castle before lunch. After a bite to eat, we head south to Ebisucho Station and walk from there to the nearby Sutenkaku, a Showa-era retro neighborhood full of amazing street food, shops, arcades, and the iconic Sutenkaku Tower. The ride is only 380 yen, and we enjoy the day, spending some of it at arcades and shopping. As night falls, we have one more place to visit in Osaka before returning for the night in Kyoto. We take the Osaka Metro line, which is not part of the jrpass, and travel about 6 minutes to Namba Station. Osaka is referred to as the kitchen of Japan, and we're traveling to what I consider the kitchen of Japan, Dotonbori. No other place like it in all of Japan, with the Dotonbori Canal lined with buildings draped in neon and adorned with oversized billboards and animated statues of everything from crabs and squid, shrimp, and sushi. After sampling many of the street foods and one too many photos, we make our way back to Kyoto on the Osaka Metro and JR Kyoto line. On day 6, we depart Kyoto for another day trip north to Hikone on Lake Biwa. Hikone is home to one of only 12 original Japanese castles, Hikone Castle. We spend a delightful day there and return to Kyoto that evening. Day 7 has us departing Kyoto and heading southwest, ultimately to Hiroshima, but not before stopping at Himeji Castle, the largest in Japan and perhaps its most famous. For this trip, we hop on board the Hikari Shinkansen at a cost of 5,170 yen. It's only 59 minutes. And after visiting the castle, we then hop on another Shinkansen, the Sakura Shinkansen, for just over an hour at a cost of 8,240 yen on our way to Hiroshima. Waking up in Hiroshima on day 8 after a delicious breakfast on the 36th floor of the Riga Royal Hotel, which, by the way, has outstanding views of both Hiroshima Castle and the Peace Memorial Park, we take the JR Sanyo line to Miyajimaguchi Station, where we take the Japan West Miyajima Ferry across the bay to Miyajima Island with its photogenic floating torii gate and floating palace. We spend the day there taking the ropeway to the top of the mountain for an exceptional view of the Seto Inland Sea and explore some of the other temples, such as Daisho-in Temple, before taking the ferry and train back into Hiroshima for a visit to the Peace Memorial Park and the Atomic Bomb Dome Memorial. On day 9, after yet another excellent breakfast, we take the 34-minute train ride down to the maritime town of Kure. This was the heart of Japanese shipbuilding prior to World War II and remains a major naval and maritime base. Here we visit the Yamato Museum and the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Forces Museum, or the Whale Museum, so called because of the incredible display of the Akishio submarine outside. There is nothing else like it in Japan. Day 10 has us leaving Hiroshima and heading back east, stopping in Nagoya, perhaps the most underrated large city in Japan, right between Osaka and Tokyo. This will be our longest Shinkansen ride for the trip, racking up 2 hours and 52 minutes, but it's a blast. Since we arrive early enough, we drop our bags at the JR Gate Tower Hotel adjacent to the station and take the local Nagoya City Subway 5 minutes to Sakae Station. Stepping out of the station, we're greeted by the Hisaya Odori, a pedestrian-only boulevard nearly a mile long with all manner of shops, restaurants, and parks. It is anchored on one end by the Mirai TV tower, and we take the elevator to the top to enjoy the view. Within a short walk is Oasis 21, a futuristic mixed-use development in front of the Aichi Museum of Art, featuring the floating roof. Looking up through the water from underneath is only surpassed by looking over it at night when it is illuminated. On day 11, after what we consider one of the best breakfast buffets in Japan, and can you tell we like to eat, we take the 24-minute Aomimi ride to Kinjo Futo Station. Here we have a choice of visiting the SC Maglev Museum or Legoland. Since we don't have young children in tow, we turn left and visit the Maglev Museum, which is one of the finest train museums in all of Japan, focusing on the magnetic levitating train, though there is plenty of other rolling stock and the largest model train diorama in the country. After hanging out here for the better part of the morning, we take the Aonami line back into town to Sako Station. From here we take the short walk to the Toyota Commemorative Museum. Nagoya is home to Toyota, and most people don't realize that Toyota got its start as a textile company before becoming the automotive giant that it is today. This is a world-class museum that is a must-see for any visitor to Japan. It's not all about cars. We take the very short Meitetsu line back to Nagoya Station and then walk across the street to the Sky Promenade on the 46th floor of the Midland Square Tower. This offers a 2-story observation platform with some of the best views in Japan, and it's rarely crowded. After another night in Nagoya, day 12 is a day trip. This time we take the Shinano Express for 48 minutes at a cost of 2,870 yen to Nakatsugawa Station. From there we pick up the local 25-minute bus ride to Magome, one of the few remaining historic post towns in Japan. If you want to get a sense of the essence of old Japan, Magome and its neighbor to the north, Sumago, are the towns to visit. It's like stepping back in time as you walk the narrow street lined with 200-year-old Edo period shops, restaurants, and museums. This is simply a lovely change from the large metropolitan cities. On day 13, we are headed to Tokyo, so we get on board the Hikari Shinkansen for the 1 hour and 41-minute train ride. The price for this ticket is $10,890 if you were to pay on your own. Now here's a tip. Pick your seat carefully on this eastbound train and get on the left-hand side, because if the weather is nice, you might just get a good glimpse of Mount Fuji. Since we arrived before lunch and after exploring the massive Tokyo Station and admiring its stunning Marunouchi side, we take the short walk to Nihonbashi Bridge, where we pick up the Tokyo Water Taxi. Most folks are unaware there are miles of canals crisscrossing central Tokyo, and the Tokyo Water Taxi allows us to rent a boat and driver for as long as we want so we can see another side of Tokyo. We've opted for an hour, and it's a delightful experience taking in the sights. But we have other places to see and things to do. From Nihonbashi, we take the next metro down to Ginza, the world-famous high-end shopping district, although all we do is window shop. But something anybody can enjoy here is the Art Aquarium Museum. Stepping into the darkened space, you'll see hundreds of glowing aquariums of every shape and size imaginable, filled with more than 100 varieties of goldfish. On day 14, we take the JR Ueno Tokyo line to the enormous Ueno Park. The park is full of museums, open spaces, and on the day we visit, the ginkgo trees are in their full glory. We easily spend the better part of the day here, visiting several of the amazing museums, including the Museum of Western Art, the National Museum of Nature and Science, and of course the Tokyo National Museum. After hours of walking from museum gallery to gallery, we're glad to get off our feet on the JR Yamanote line. After the 21-minute ride and 350 yen ticket, we arrive in time to visit Azabudai Hills, the newest and most upscale neighborhood in Tokyo. We have timed entry reservations for Team Lab Borderless. To call this a museum is a misnomer. It is part art gallery, part living museum, and a movie theater all in one. It's simply hard to describe. And I'll say this, get your tickets well in advance, because this is one of the most popular and Instagram-worthy places in all of Japan. And finally, on day 15, we returned to Tokyo Station the way we came before leaving on the Narita Express the next day back to Narita Airport. So as we recover from our jet lag, it's time to tally it all up. Now, bear in mind, as I said, these prices are effective as of January 2025. We use them and the train schedules using the Japan Transit Planner app. That's what we always use. Now, there are others. There's Hyperdia and also another one called Navitime. You can use those, but we like the Japan Transit Planner. With this information, had we not had the jrpass, we would have spent 76,130 yen on those JR lines. That comes to $525.03 based on a 145 yen to the dollar exchange rate. By comparison, the 14-day JR pass cost us $530, thus we would have spent $4.97 more on the pass than had we just paid as we went along. That's a negligible amount, which could easily differ based on the exchange rate, but it's basically a wash. However, if you do not take the longer legs, such as from Tokyo to Kanazawa or Osaka down to Hiroshima, you're likely better off to pay as you go. And if you're like most visitors, first-time visitors to Japan that stay typically around Osaka, Tokyo, and Kyoto, it's almost definitely better to go ahead and pay a la carte rather than buying the JR pass. But if you're like us and love riding on the trains and taking longer trips, then the JR pass is your ticket to ride. Now, earlier in the video, I mentioned the green car and that we like to splurge and go that route. But there is an issue with that. It is more expensive, and using the itinerary we just went through, had we done that in the green car, it would have been more expensive than paying a la carte. However, there are several reasons we like the green car, and here they are. First, the green car is less crowded than the ordinary cars. The ordinary cars on most Shinkansen trains are a 2x3 configuration, meaning 2 seats on one side of the aisle and 3 on the other. In contrast, the green cars are always a 2x2 configuration. This means the seats are wider. Second, there are typically fewer rows of seats in the green car than an ordinary car. In some cases, it may be up to 36 fewer seats, as there are typically 20 rows in an ordinary car and only 16 in a green car. This has 2 additional benefits, the first being there's more leg room between the seats. Also, in the green car, you have electronic or mechanical leg rests and foot rests that come along with it. The other nice thing is it means there's more room on the racks for your backpack and luggage overhead of the seat. Another reason we like the green car is that they are quieter. They're actually designed that way. Compare the flooring in the ordinary car. It's hard surfaced linoleum or similar. In the green car, it's carpeted and quiet. The seats have thicker padding and are more plush. The headrests wrap around slightly around the contour of your head and even have reading lights in some cases. The green cars have plenty of places to put your things, such as your laptop and drinks. So to have a green car pass for 14 days versus an ordinary car, it will set you back $729. However, for us, the extra amount is worth it. Now, I mentioned one other car class called the Grand Class. This is indeed first class, and it's only available on a few select Shinkansen lines. It's in a 1x2 seating configuration, and the seats are more like cocoons than train seats. Plus, the restrooms serving the Grand Class are amazing for any kind of high-end travel. Just look at this restroom, it's huge. But guess what? If there's a Grand Class on your train, the green car will be right behind it, and you'll have access to the same restrooms. So in answer to the big question, is it better to go with the JR Pass or buy tickets as you go? It just depends on your travel plans. If you're not going to take long stretches on the Shinkansen, most likely it's going to be better to just pay as you go. And then, is it better to get an ordinary car ticket or a green car ticket? Again, that depends on your budget and how much you value the added comfort. Keep in mind that both train cars will get to the station at the same time. So there you have it. I've included links to all the various destinations described in this video, so I hope you'll check out those videos and others on our website. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you and answer any questions. And until next time, sayonara.